Alright, here we go. Hey, what's up? How's everybody doing? I hate it when people ask me, like, am I gonna eat that? You know, if you have, like, something extra on your plate and they want to eat it. You know, like, it's usually if you have, like, extra fries or, like, a pickle that came with your sandwich. And the thing is, like, I'm gonna offer it to you if I want you to have it. And that saves me from feeling, like, obligated to give it to you when you ask. Because I'm gonna feel like a dick when I say no. So my mom has this like story about my grandma to like kind of hit home how rude she thought she was. Or to like spit on her grave because my grandma's dead. One of the two. So we were out to dinner. It was like me, my grandma, my grandpa, my mom, my dad, my sister. I'm like 5 years old. My sister's like 7 years old. And my sister's going around to all the adults when their salads come out. And she's asking for their tomatoes. And she's going up to like my mom, my dad, my grandpa, and she's like, I have your tomatoes. And you know, they're giving it to them because they feel obligated. She's 7 years old. She asked for them, so they have to give it to her. But then she gets to my grandma. My grandma goes, no. Grandma likes tomatoes too, and then she stabs 3 tomatoes with her fork and like makes eye contact and eats them all staring back at her in the eyes. And my mom was livid about this. My mom was so pissed, and she's been like pissed for the last 20 years about this whole thing, and she still goes on about it, but I was like sitting there watching the whole thing go down, and I'm like, fuck yeah. Yeah, show that tomato snatching slut who's boss. You know, yeah, you know like how 5-year-olds think? Like just say, yeah, fuck yeah, show 'em, grandma. I think dogs are weird. I think dogs are like weird as like a species, because when you look at like the difference between like a pug, right, and a German Shepherd, those are 2 totally different looking creatures, but we call them both dogs. And like, what if we got invaded by aliens, right? And we're like showing the aliens around, like what's what, and they're like, oh, what is that? You know, like pointing to like a pug. And we're like, well, Squirmtor, that is a dog. And they're like, okay, all right, what is that? You know, pointing to like a pit bull. And we're like, well, actually, that's a dog too. And they'd be like, ha ha ha, you're crazy, I don't believe you. And then they kill us all. They probably murder everybody because of that. And then later on, you know, they'd be on their spaceship with all their alien friends, and they'll be like, these fucking idiots. They thought everything was a dog, and we know what a dog is, and then they pull out like a giant worm, and they're like, this is a dog, you know, and that's the end of the movie, and that's a really weird movie, but it's based on fact. I don't know, that's a weird joke. I got a cat about a year ago, and he's like my first cat. Like, we had cats growing up, but like when I go home to visit them, they don't remember me or like care about me at all. It's kind of like your high school friends when you go away to college, or like your college friends when you graduate and you get a job, or your friends now if you're me and then you had to get a cat. Like kind of the same idea. So I got this cat. I've had him for about a year, so I figured it's time to bring him to the vet and get him checked out, because he's a fat cat. He's like this fat, fluffy cat. He's kind of like the cat version of Chunk from the Goonies, if you can imagine that. So I'm like on the phone with the vet tech, and I'm trying to set up his appointment, and she's like asking me all these questions, and it makes me feel like I don't know this cat at all. She's like, well, when was the last time he got his shots? And I was like, I don't know that, I have no idea. And she's like, well, has he always been an indoor cat, or was he once an outdoor cat? I'm like, I don't know the answer then. She's like, what do you know about this cat? And I was like, well, I know if you leave a bag of Hawaiian rolls out, he'll eat the entire thing. That didn't help, that gives you no information. So we set up the appointment finally, he comes in, you know, he's getting his checkup, he gets his shots, and it's all going pretty well, but then they have to weigh him. And like I said, he's a fat cat, that's why we brought him to the vet. So they put him on the scales, and he's trying like all the tricks that I always do. He's like leaving his tail off the scale. And he's like asking, he's like, can I take my collar off first? I haven't gone to the bathroom today. Do you have a litter box nearby? You know, just trying to weigh in, get like a better metric. He's 19 and a half pounds, you guys. think of, and it happened right in front of me. And so like the vet, she's like fat shaming us both. She's like, you have to cut down on his diet, and you have to exercise him for 5 minutes a day. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but have you ever seen like a cat move for like 5 straight minutes, like at once? Like if they do that, I think they'll die. But I try, you know, I try. So I'm like every day I'm getting out that little like pom-pom on the fishing pole, and I'm like whacking him around the face with it. And he's doing that thing where he's like, for like about 20 seconds, then he rolls over and he's like, hey, you know, season 2 of Hoarders is on Hulu. And I'm like, I can't argue with that. So he's gonna be fat for the rest of his life. I have some time left now, and I just want to make some light-hearted conversation about abortion. If I can, some light-hearted comments. You know, like whether you're in the left or the right or whatever, however you feel about abortion, you're allowed to have that opinion. Like that's the whole thing. You can have whatever opinion you want. The whole thing is, I don't think men should be allowed to vote on whether we're allowed to have it or not. Like, I think they should be excluded from that vote entirely, because think about it, like, what if women were allowed to vote, and we were allowed to come up with whether you had to get circumcised or not? Like, what if that was, like, our choice, and we're like, well, we get to vote on this, and none of us like a penis wearing a meat sweatshirt. I know it's my upbringing. And you know, guys would hate that. Guys would be like, no, man, his body, his choice. Thanks, I'm Jack.